We've been speaking with Greg Young, the CEO of Leadershape Global. They've just come out with their newest publication, Transpersonal Leadership in Action. Pick up a copy wherever books are sold or ordered from. Greg, how would you contrast the initial leading beyond the ego and this new book? Has one perhaps been more theoretical and one is now putting into action?
Yeah, the first book, Leading Beyond the Ego, How to Become a Transpersonal Leader, was, if you like, the codified sequence of how you can develop into a transpersonal leader. Focusing on the second book, Transpersonal Leadership in Action, action is the important word there. It's about actually, with your transpersonal leadership skills, how you can put those into action in the workplace. So what we've done is we've taken some case studies of people where we've used transpersonal leadership in the workplace. We've also looked at ethics, leading with ethics, for example. Something which is hot at the moment is, diversity and also politics. So we're comparing transpersonal leadership with aspects of the real world.
Gotcha. No, it makes perfect sense to me. One of the questions that I like to ask all of our guests on our executive leadership podcast series is, Washington University of Science and Technology, we have two schools here, a School of Business and a School of IT. And all of the students here are sort of at the beginning of their educational journey, right? We're transforming lives. We're not just giving degrees. Let's take MBA students, for example. Perhaps these international students have not had the opportunity to learn about different leadership models. What would you say to them in terms of the transpersonal leadership as they are starting their educational journey, hopefully leading them to internships and employment? How can we better help our students to become transpersonal leaders?
What a wonderful time, actually, to be introduced to transpersonal leadership. And I'll tell you why. The people who are leading our organizations right now are people more and more like me, the pale, stale males. To put it bluntly. And right. we've got quite an embedded view of leadership, which pertains to maybe an older mental model of leadership. Okay, which if you think about it of being, so here's the contrast between what I would call Newtonian physics, which is forces mass times acceleration. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So input equals output in some way, and those two are directly connected. Okay. Mm-hmm. What we're getting to now in this systemic world is more like quantum physics. Okay, an electron can be mass and it can be energy and it can exist in any part of the universe at any one time.
Right.
The previous mental model of leadership was rather more like Newtonian physics, and what we're talking about in transpersonal leadership is more like quantum physics, if you like. What we can't do is to throw away that Newtonian model. I mean, let's face it. You and I are maybe I can't speak for you. I can remember the first man on the moon. That man got to the moon because of Newtonian physics. Okay.
Right.
We decoded the human genome again through Newtonian physics. So it's good in the right place. Mm-hmm. Equally, it's not sufficient when we start talking about systems and all of those sorts of things.
Sure.
So it's not an either or, it's an and both. Now, going back to your students, what getting acquainted with transpersonal leadership at this stage in their careers enables them to leapfrog the leaders in established leaders in organizations with more modern leadership thinking. Right.
Gotcha. And as you say, perhaps students in their early to mid 20s don't have all of the, lack of a better word, baggage, if you will, of being mature adults, and you say, you know, there are certainly different perspectives on leadership. I think perhaps transpersonal leadership for these students, it could be a great beginning and a way forward as these students become more entwined in the business community, leading them and their organizations to, you know, reach higher heights, you might say.
Absolutely.
Yeah, perfect. We've been talking with Greg Young, the author, editor, CEO of Leadershape Global, the newest book, Transpersonal Leadership in Action, and the first book, Leading Beyond the Ego, one of my favorite leadership books of all time. It's on my personal bestseller list. So I talk about it all the time to my friends and colleagues. Greg, thanks so much for joining us. It was a real pleasure to speak with you, and hopefully our students and our viewers will find lots of great advice and perspectives on transpersonal leadership. Again, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure, Bart. Thank you for the invitation.